Seven Nation Army couldn't hold me back.
Welcome to the Heat versus the World podcast.
Taking
And
time
now,
behind my back.
stand up and make some noise for your host, Joel Jacob.
Hey, welcome everyone to Heat vs. the World. This is the first episode of 2025 and the last one for this season. Yeah, man. I wasn't expecting to wait till April to do my first episode of Heat vs. the World for 2025 now, but I had to take a mental health break because too much was going on with this squad, and I did not feel like talking about the Miami Heat during this time. So y'all know what I had to do. I had to step away from the stuff completely. But the Heat finally got put out of their misery. Shout outs to the Cavs. I'm so happy the suffering is over. And to celebrate that with me, I got my guys, Alex and Kay. Y'all want to say what's up to the people?
What's good?
Kay, you there?
Yeah, I'm usually on camera, people. What's good? How y'all doing?
But yeah, man. So the suffering is over, y'all. The chains are gone. You know, the suffering we've been through this year, y'all know what it's been like. I'm through with it. If y'all didn't watch the season, I don't blame y'all. 10-game losing streak. The Heat just got ran over by the Cavs, and I don't know, man. It's like we could have had 2 draft picks this year if we just simply chose to lose the play-in. But the Heat decided that it was better to just simply get completely ran over by the Cavs than to have 2 draft picks for this year, 2 first-round picks this year. But we chose that it was better to lose by 55 in Game 4 of a sweep to who was it, Cleveland, than to what's it called, just simply have 2 first-round picks. And if I sound slow right now, I sound tired, that's because I don't even care, bro. I just simply woke up like around 5:30, said it was time to record, got on here, and I'm just talking about it with y'all and just trying to talk it out because we can at least do one more pod before we wrap the season up. Anyways, I'm gonna just pass the mic to you guys. How do y'all feel to know that the suffering is over? We'll start off with you, Alex.
Nah, let Kay go first since he gotta get out of here early.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Okay, the mic is yours.
I mean, look, man, y'all know how I felt once the Jimmy deal was done. It was just like from there, let's see what we got. And I think that if anything, for me leaving the Cavs series, there are definitive answers. And I mean, nothing that we didn't know. And I think that's kind of what blows me about the whole scenario and all the victory laps being taken and all of the comments being showed and everybody wants to, look at this. I said this. It's like, well, nobody's saying anything new. It's like there was no opposition to the fact that we knew Tyler and Bam aren't ones. Like neither of them are ones. Like, so I don't understand, like, everybody taking victory laps or whatever, because like we didn't figure out anything new. We knew they weren't ones. So I mean, I'm not shocked. What is shocking or jarring is to see them losing a manner that they did. And I mean, this was going around the group chat, like, a quitting thing versus not trying thing. And I should have waited to answer the question because like it wasn't until after I saw I will honestly say more of the game. And it's like, okay, at first it looks like, all right, he's trying to take what the defense give him, force them into making the decision so that then he could play basketball, read and react. But then it's like, nah, a lot of those shots, an example, I'm using Tyler Hero. A lot of those shots were practice shots or like shoot around shots or just like, blah, blah, blase shots. So it's like for me that at that point you have to realize like, oh, he was trying not to get hurt. So long story short, I mean, that's disappointing, but we knew that neither of them were one. So, I mean, that's just kind of where I'm at.
Right, Alex, you?
like I said this before to Joel before we started recording, and so obviously everybody in my life basically knows I'm a diehard Heat fan. So once we started getting our tails whooped, I'm getting messages left and right, people calling me left and right. And my only response to those people in regard to this was we were the 10 seed. We won 37 games this year. And we had a 10-game losing streak during the year. And that was the team that showed up in the 4 games against Cleveland. Fought as hard as you could in game 1, tired legs after the play in. I'll give y'all that. Game 2, that was the game that Spo and everybody, like, that was the game that they were going for. And it looked like we had it. And then Donovan Mitchell said, no, y'all don't. And then once that happened, game 3 obviously got ran over. And I was telling people, I was like, yo, I think that game 4, because I told one of my boys before the series, I was like, I know for sure that they're going to win game 4 because we do stuff so backwards. Like you said, Joel, like we could have had we could have had at least 2 picks in this draft. One of them could have been potentially top 10, maybe jump up in the lottery. But instead of getting that, we decided, yo, what up, Kev? But yeah, instead of getting that, we decided, nah, let's go ahead, let's make the playoffs because of the draft pick stuff that they weren't trying to deal with. And Alexa, stop. Oh my goodness. Freaking Alexa. But yeah, And so then we ended up getting our head. Well, Alexa just knocked me off my track. But yeah, lost game 4 by Duncan Robinson. I stopped watching.
Bro, I
stopped watching in the second quarter, yo.
Bro, I wasn't even awake. I literally went to sleep at like 6 p.m. So I woke up like around 11, 10.
So that message was serious.
Yes.
When you messaged us.
Yes. I was hoping we lost because like I was just done with the Heat season overall. Like I don't want to hear people talking about this squad no more. So when I like asked Siri because I was too weak to like even type it in on Google like who won the Heat game. So I asked Siri who won, and when I see the score, my jaw dropped to the ground, bro. I'm just laying in bed. I see that score. I'm like, no way y'all lost by 55 at home. Like y'all lost by like 37 the game before, and y'all found a way to make that completely worse. Like what's going on?
And I know I put this on my Instagram story, but like I swear it was the truth. Right when we got the jump ball, and they went down the court and tried to run the set, and Davion went to pass the ball to Khalil. Right when Jared Allen stole it and went and dunked, I knew the game was over right there. Mm-hmm. Like right when that happened, I was like, oh wow, they're about to get drugged. I didn't expect it to be by Duncan Robinson. But when I saw that, and now thinking about it, what Kay said really is resonating with me. Like, if you really look at some of the shots that Tyler was taking, he was like, yo, I'm just out here. I'm going to shoot these shots because I know I'm supposed to, but I ain't trying to get hurt.
Yeah, and I wish you was there for that, Kev. Like what you said when you asked the question, like you should have waited to halftime because like I think I had incomplete information. Because like I told them, if you just taking them shots to make them react and then you're gonna read and react, cool. And I thought it was some of that. But then, like I said, as it went on, it's like, nah, he taking shoot around shots and he just trying not to get hurt.
And I'm gonna pass the mic to you, Kev. So basically, we just talking about this whole season as a whole, this whole train wreck, along with the perfect ending to this season last night. Like, how you feel knowing that the chains are gone now?
Man, we just talking about the series or the whole season or what?
Just throw everything out, bro. Everything can go out because that's how bad this season is.
Whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
I mean, man, I don't even know where to start, but I'll start by saying that, like Alex's name says right now, big changes are definitely needed. But I think the main thing was, and I always got to resort back to Jimmy, bro, because the issue with these players and everybody involved is that I've been saying this for years. We continue to ask dudes to play over their heads. We continue to put responsibilities on dudes that they're not ready for, right? You want to throw Tyler into the fire out the gate. That's not him. He was great in the bubble, amazing. But ever since then, we haven't really seen Tyler Hero be a real major threat in the playoffs, right? 2022, he was banged up and he wasn't a threat whatsoever. 2023, he was hurt the entire thing. 2024 was his first time to really shine. Jimmy goes down, and I give him some grace because they lost to the team that ended up going to win the title. But, you had that. And then this year, I mean, let's be honest, dog. Not just Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell outplayed him, but you can make a real case that Ty Jerome was better than Tyler Hero the entire series, bro.
Yo, like, listen, I didn't want to interrupt you, Kev, but if you do look at the point total, like, you got Ty Jerome, who had 65 points in that first round series, and then Tyler, who he did have more than Ty Jerome, but only by 71, so it's just 6 more points.
And so with that, my issue is, again, it's not their fault, right? Because we all know if we're talking about building a franchise and actually competing, which the Heat always talk about being competitive, no team in the league, if we're talking about dudes in Tyler and Bam's age ranges, are building around Tyler and Bam Adebayo. If we're just calling a spade, not as the 1 or 2 option, at least, with all due respect. And that's not a knock on them. It's more so telling y'all how difficult it is to be a 1 or a 2. It's not easy, right? Competing, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, getting to NBA Finals, that's not easy. We see it's some teams that get to the finals and never get back. It's some teams that get to the conference finals and never get back. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I don't like to complain, because as Heat fans, we have been spoiled, right? I always tell Kay, before Jimmy got here, bro, we were a 10 seed. We were a 10 seed. In one season, he took us to the finals. That's not supposed to happen. You're supposed to build up to get to the finals. Look how many times the Celtics fell short before they ultimately got over the hump. That's how it's supposed to go, right? So for me, I look at the front office first and foremost, because Pat Riley always talks about whales this and whales that. There's no whale on the team right now. It's not one whale. It's not even somebody close to a whale. Your 2 best players between Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo are honestly one-dimensional. Bam can give you great defense, even though he's another dude that got severely outplayed by Mobley and Jared Allen this series. He's a great defender, but we're still asking ourselves, where's his niche offensively? And he showed us, bits and pieces this year in the mid-range, but it's still not a shot where you feel comfortable with him living or dying by it, right? We wanted him to expand to the 3-point line. How long did that last going into the season, right? And then Tyler, again, I don't want to kill Tyler because Tyler's not terrible. It's just we ask him to do things that he's not built to do. But you cannot build your franchise around a dude that is a high-volume scorer, but he's getting picked on defensively in the playoffs. How many teams have dudes like that and are competing right now? The answer is probably none. Outside of maybe the Joker, and we all know the Joker is an anomaly. He's the 1% of the 1%. But outside of that, we look at Donovan Mitchell. People think Donovan Mitchell's a terrible defender. Donovan Mitchell's not a bad defender. I promise you. He doesn't get enough credit for his defense, in my opinion. But I say all that to say is that Jimmy Butler carried us. And I hate to say it like that because we had some superb role players, right? But even look at those role players. Gabe is not a threat right now out here for the Lakers. Caleb has been a part of 2 franchises since he left us just a season ago. Or 2 seasons ago, technically, right? He went to Philly, and now he's in Dallas, if I'm not mistaken, right? Strus is an anomaly. Credit to Strus. He had and that's another guy you can make a case had a better series than Tyler Hero. That's a guy we just let walk, if I'm not mistaken. So, again, it's not I don't want to blame the players because it's not the players' fault, bro. It's just not. But, again, when you don't have a dude, everything gets brought to the spotlight. Jimmy hid so many flaws, and we've seen it every time we went to the finals. We were clearly outclassed, and I know it's a small. I won't even say small. I know it's a contingent of Heat fans out there that firmly believe that we would have won in 2020 had Goran and Bam been healthy, but that wasn't gonna happen, bro. Like I trust me, I root for my team as soon as the ball goes up in the air for the jump, but it wasn't gonna happen. Like they were a taller team, they were more athletic, and they had Bron and AD as healthy as they've ever been together. That's just not the recipe, right? And that's why Jimmy had to go into Super Saiyan mode to even keep it competitive. And then in Denver, it was the same thing. Nikola Jokic was the guy that, of course, nobody has answers for. Jamal Murray was playing his best. That entire team was just playing at their best. But my issue is this, and I'm going to land my plane because I'm about to start rambling. When it comes to Jimmy Butler, we never gave him another dude that was a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. And that's the issue. D Wade had that with Shaq, even though you can argue Shaq was in his prime, but later down the line, you gave him LeBron James and Chris Bosh. To me, Jimmy Butler is a top 3 Heat player behind D Wade and Bron, and he had the least amount of help out of any Heat great of all time. And he got you right there. And it might take us a little bit more time to get back to the conference final because it's not easy. That's why you have to appreciate these runs, bro. So for me, again, it's unfortunate to see your team, get 50-piece on national television for the entire world to see, but it was necessary because we cannot continue to try and make it seem like everything's good when everything's not. You can't continue to sell us dirt and make it seem like it's diamonds. And that's where I am.
Right.
This is where I'm gonna loop back in because I didn't have the same freedom that they had. I thought we was directly answering a question, which is what I did. But I'm going to take my time and do what they did. First of all, on the draft pick situation, that's a fugazi argument because the actual protection situation on the picks is better next year. So that situation is, you know what I mean? It makes sense to give the picks up this year. Like, it makes sense. The protections is better next year. That's smart. That ain't so. Like, when I see people saying that, I look and see who's saying it before I call them a stupid ass. I'm sorry, forgive me, Joe. But that's the first thing. Not you, Al. That's why I said look and see who's saying. Not you, because it's fair. We chat. Secondly, though, to Kev's point, I mean, I'm gonna dissect a little bit in that you're right, and we don't disagree on the overarching point, and I don't disagree on the notion of how hard it is and what it takes. Something else I said before you got on. I mean, it kind of blows me that people are taking victory laps when we knew Tyler and Bam weren't ones. Like, I don't understand what the vitriol is about. We know they weren't ones. So if you mad, it's because you fooled yourself. Like, I mean, if you know what you're looking at, they're not ones. But that's the fucking meal. I mean, that's the meal we got. Excuse me, Joe. I'm sorry. I'm a little upset. My bad. That's the meal we got. So it's like, I don't blame me for what the waiter bringing out the kitchen. I ain't make the menu. I'm just telling you what's on it. Like, but we knew it was tofu and chicken. Like, you know what I'm saying? We ain't say it was steak. We knew it was tofu and chicken. So that's the second thing. Lastly, and I'll put it to you like this. I mean, you're right, but I'm not going to sit here and advocate. What's the best way to say this, man? Do you want to be the Bucks? Like, look at the Bucks situation now. Because that's the scenario they would have put themselves in had they cleared the cupboard, which is what any other team would have took. And we know this. So, I mean, I hear you, Kev, and I understand. But it's like, at what point is cutting your nose off to spite your face? And I think that you have to choose if you are willing to deal with. I don't know. Like, because the Bucks are really in purgatory. I don't feel like the Heat are in purgatory. I feel like the Heat are in a better place they are before they got Jimmy Butler. Because before as you mentioned, the 10th seed before getting him, like, okay, yes, we're doodling on them because not only, we know what they aren't, so we weren't expecting that of them, if you know what you're looking at, but we wanted more from you. But even with that, it's like they didn't have those kind of pieces prior to this. So it's like whether you want to say for the next guy to play with, or whether you want to say, okay, these are the pieces we're going to use to hurry up and go get our guy faster and be able to select that guy because we got these pieces to work with. Like, they weren't in this place. So again, you are 100% right. It's not easy to go to a conference finals. It's not easy to do that. And you bring up that point. We were at Tennessee before we got Jimmy Butler. But the thing I referenced is 2 years in Miami Heat time ain't 2 years in Celtics time. And not that matters because this isn't them. I'm just speaking about it in the grand scheme relative of things. Like, even that wasn't that long compared to the previous era. And if we're talking about the magnitude of that era, just as hot as comets burn, they go cold just as fast. And I'm going to land my plane because I can get just as cliche as you and begin to ramble. But what I'm saying is you're right. And if the superstar, if this was Jimmy when we first got him at that age, then I'm 100% on board with you. And while you're right, I'm not mad at them not giving Jimmy at this age with what we know, $155 million. Because if it doesn't work out, we're right back here. Did it hurt? Does it hurt to see him doing what he's doing now? Absolutely. But knowing what we would have to given up to get him a superstar during that time would have left us being the Bucks now if it doesn't work. And then if we had gave him the money, it turns us into Kobe's Lakers. No disrespect to Kobe, but we know Kobe was making $60 million and that team won't go win 40 games. And Jimmy ain't Kobe to that point. So it's a different level of, you get what I'm saying? So you can take your team winning 40 games when we talking about the Mamba. And again, Jimmy's done so much, so I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying we can't have it both ways. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying which choice is right, which choice is wrong, which side you should be on. I'm simply saying we can't have it both ways. And knowing what I know about everybody that has something to say now, if they would have gave it to him, and then halfway through next year, he looking like a shell of himself, you right here screaming into the abyss. Like, why did you give him $150 million? Choose a direction. He made them do that. Let him go live life and play ball, and now the Miami Heat got to do the same thing.
My only thing to that, bro, is that me personally, I'm going down with the ship with the proven product compared to continuously trying to sell your fan base on two dudes that are finally, quote unquote, reaching their ceiling, and their ceiling isn't leading to winning basketball. I think if you start this season with Bam and Tyler as your guys and Jimmy's just off the roster, they're probably a 6 seed, a 5 seed, right? But they're not a threat whatsoever in the playoffs at all. When I had 22 on my team, I felt good about any playoff series. And yes, we continuously talk about age and we talk about this and that. But my biggest issue with that nowadays is you're still seeing these elder statesmen hold up. Steph Curry's playing amazing basketball right now. Bron is taking a step back, but Bron is 40. KD is 36. A lot of our fan base wants KD. I don't really want KD personally, because I think he needs to go somewhere where he can actually contend. But KD's still playing high-level basketball. So while, yes, you're kind of projecting about the possibilities of paying an elder statesman, which the Heat, of course, historically have not wanted to do, but at the same time, this isn't one of them situations where you can just give somebody up like that and just think you're going to get something in return that's going to be equal to or lesser value. Because, I mean, let's talk about it. Who did we trade to get for Jimmy? We traded for Andrew Wiggins, bro. Andrew Wiggins was not a threat at all this series. It was not one time that Andrew Wiggins was the best player on the floor. And that's an issue. He should be looked at that. He has the talent of a lot of these dudes, but he doesn't have the consistency, and that's the biggest issue. And when you trade a dude like that, I'm not saying you're supposed to completely galvanize your future, but you're supposed to have a few different pieces that should help you feel better about the future. And that's where I will say, Davion Mitchell, salute, bro. Salute. Major salute, because if it was no bright spots this season, you were the one. You were the one. So I'll finish by saying that.
We also got that coveted draft pick that means something to everybody, but I digress.
Draft picks sound amazing until they turn into names.
Hey, brother, you preaching to the choir. You need to be echoing that into the echo chamber of X and everybody else. We ain't the people you need to be telling that to.
I'm talking to the people. I know who y'all are.
But, man, I'm just going to ask this question, and, because I already have an opinion on this, but, obviously I want y'all to get y'all takes off. We talked about Jimmy, and, yesterday he mentioned after the Warriors won, him getting his joy back, all that other stuff. I do want to ask y'all, how we feel about this whole keep your mouth shut situation. I know where I stand, but I just want to hear y'all's takes on this first. Alex, we haven't heard from you in a minute, so I'm passing the mic to you first. How we feel on this? Because
in regard to what Pat has said to Jimmy last season.
Yes, so that clearly was what's the word I'm looking for? The snowball that led to everything, right? That's
that was a straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
But,
there you go.
I mean, I understand Pat's mentality, the old school, you want out there to you were hurt, so you weren't out there to help the team. So you shouldn't be talking about the guy. You shouldn't be saying nothing or whatever. You want out there to help. Uh, but like everybody in a roundabout way has been saying, we didn't end up giving him the help that he needed to really get over the hump. And I mean, what I think Cass said it. Like everybody and their mom has been put into a role too high. I've been saying for basically, uh, well, at least 2.5 years that we the perfect storm for the Heat would have been to find somebody who during the regular season could average like uh, a smooth 25, 26, along with Jimmy doing whatever Jimmy was going to do, along with Tyler adding 20 at least. And then whatever you get, if it's over 13 plus from Bam, then that was just extra. But one of the things that I've seen everybody calling for Pat's job and everything. And I ain't gonna lie, like I've fed into it on X. I fed into it because of the fact that I look at it like this, like the last time that he won a championship was 2012, 2013. So that's been 12 years ago. And that time, well, I think how old is Pat now? Like 80? Like,
8,
bruh,
bro. 8 decades.
like it's okay to realize this thing has passed me by. Let me hand this over more so to somebody who's closer to the generation, more connected, and more revered by the guys now than I am now. Because now, Pat to everybody now who he trying to make moves and everything, Pat's ancient. So like his mojo worked to help with Chris Bosh and Bron and his mojo still worked. He still had clout back then. He had just came off a 2006 championship. I came down. I put the team together. I'm gonna coach it. Boom. Like you still had some sauce from that. It's been too long now. And I know that everybody talks about the fact that okay, it's not just Pat now, it's a brain trust of people. Well, I understand that it's a brain trust, but they still know, yo, like this is Pat Riley. So they probably leaning more towards whatever he want to do than really, really speaking their minds, in my opinion. So I think, yo, like we said, like that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and I think that is his time, man. It's his time. Go ahead and give it up, brother. It's okay. He
I
said,
got
yo, the court went after you. We love you. We love everything you've done, but it's time, brother.
I got a lot to say about that, but I know Kay, you might have to head out soon, so the mic is yours, bro. But I got a lot to say though the second you finish your take, Kay.
I mean, I'm not. I ain't gonna say torn. I'm like in the middle of that. I mean, I feel like if he do decide to move on, so be it. If he don't, so be it. I feel like we can't pick and choose. You know me, I like consistency. Dwayne Wade said the man was sharp. Anytime Dwayne Wade say something else and it go with our agendas, we so quick to highlight that. Dwayne Wade literally said less than a month ago that man basically still know more ball than a lot of us than ever learned. He done forgot more ball than most of us know. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna say it's time for him to go, because as we all know, as everybody know, the brain trust part ain't about the collective of decision. I can't 100% say they're still leaning into doing everything he want to do. I mean, yeah, he probably still got the biggest voice in the room, but I mean, Spo and him, and to this next part about what them say, them cats that sign the checks probably got the biggest say in the room, and that's the part that we don't talk about. Like what's been highly publicized to us is Pat has as least control over the money as he's ever had. Like back in those big three areas, like, yeah, somebody else still signing checks, but if Pat be like, yo, we need to spend this bread, they were more inclined to be like, all right, we'll spend the bread. Whereas now it ain't a whole lot of that going on. But at the same time, this is something that I've mentioned before. And I think people are falsely blaming it on Pat. or saying that Pat can't identify with the younger people or that he's lost his mojo. Like, I don't understand what we're looking at, because oftentimes what I see is other teams, excuse my friends, this is the only way I can say it, other teams trying to molest the Miami Heat in trade packages. That's all I ever see. That's all I ever see. How is that Pat? Or is that other teams with what I've consistently said is a Heat tax? Other teams are just at a point where they're saying we're not going to be fleeced by the Miami Heat. It's that. It's not Pat Riley. It's that they can't deal ethically with nobody because nobody feels like they can get an ethical deal.
But my question to that is
It don't, but I guess, hold on, Alex. I'm sorry. This was the last part because it might influence what you're about to say. No matter who's in that seat, the Miami Heat are going to be treated the same way. Go ahead.
I don't think that no matter who's in that seat, we're gonna get treated the same way. At this point, I don't think that. It might be true, but I think that
You think it's a Pat tax, not a Heat tax.
I think it's more of a Pat tax than a Miami Heat tax at this point. That's just how I feel about it.
So can you just quite at that? Like,
I mean, we just differ. I mean, my thing is to say that it's a Pat tax.
I mean,
Why would they tax Pat then? Like, that means he's good at, does that mean that he's bad at his job then? Because he's not giving in to the tax if it is a Pat tax?
No, it's more so that we've seen him maximize lesser talent more than anybody. So people are jealous of that, right?
Well, I think we're saying the same thing, Kev.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's more so that it's kind of like Danny Ainge, right? A lot of teams
saying his greatness has deemed him almost a problem.
Yes.
Okay,
precisely.
and that's fair.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Go ahead, Joe.
and I'm just gonna come out and say it. I think Pat Riley had a great time in Miami. I'll forever be blessed for what he did from 1995 to 2025. God bless him. You know, he did a lot for this franchise, but I think it's time to move on and let go. You know, like, listen, he had a great run with the Miami Heat, and I will never say anything bad about Pat, but it's time to move on. It's time to move on, in my opinion. I'm so grateful for everything he did, but bro, I don't know. And I want to touch on something real quick. You mentioned, K. You mentioned, because I don't want to put everything on Pat, because I think you were alluding to someone, K, when you mentioned this. I don't know if it was specifically this person, so I don't want to mention them by name just yet. But when you were talking about like the checks and everything, are you also alluding that this is also the fault of a name that rhymes with Sticky, or what's that? I just want to make sure.
Man. They businessman. Come on, brother. They businessman.
So I just want to know though. So because I also got some opinions on that too. Like, are we on the same boat?
Let me make sure I'm very clear.
Okay.
I don't know what you about to say. So we not in the same boat in that I may 100% agree with what you're about to say. If what you're about to say overall is that he don't control the pocketbook, then we agree there. But if you about to, like, you know what I mean?
Listen, I'm just
if you about to, you know what I'm saying, like, do what I think you're about to do, then we don't agree there.
I mean, I'm not going to say certain someone should just sell the team, but like, shoot. Wait, Alex, you was going to say something? Because now you turned the camera off.
Oh no, I ain't gonna lie. I was about to get up and go get some water, so it was weird timing, but I knew that's what you was getting at.
Oh yeah, I just ain't know how deep he was gonna go, because I was about to remind him that he was, you know, you're a targeted group as well, Joe. Like, you know what I mean?
Dog, listen, bro. I'm just at the point where it's like the brother can't even get some money out so that we can have some shirts at the game, bro. And I see everyone talking about that on social media. Like, and I'm not trying to say nothing, but like he's also a big part of this situation too. And you know, that's like the big issue because you look at the whole Jimmy situation, how that went out. And we all look at the Pat thing, him telling Jimmy to shut his mouth. And I don't agree with that necessarily. But I think you also got to put something on, you know, Mickey's side as well, because they talked about some of the stuff that happened in this whole feud, and we thought, oh, it was just Jimmy versus Pat. But really, if you think about it, Mickey also had like a huge part in that as well, because they said like Pat was trying to lift Jimmy's 7-game suspension. But the only way Mickey was going to allow that was if Jimmy met with him face to face. And the brother was on vacation during that time, meaning that Jimmy would have to go through the trouble of, you know, paying for his own fare and everything and fly to wherever Mickey was at from vacation and talk about it from there. But Jimmy didn't want to do that because he was already losing God knows how much money because of the suspension. So, like, it's just so much going on both sides. And I never
lose about $700,000 because the Miami Heat were comfortably paying him over $50 million, but that's neither here nor there.
Because all I'm just trying to say though is like when I look at that situation as a whole, while Jimmy definitely had his wrongs in that, when I look at that scenario and how that played out, Mickey also has his issues in this as well. And I don't know. I just don't see that willingness in him to really go out there and do what needs to be done in helping this team, like, you know, get to where it's got to be. And I don't know, the CBA is a mess as well. That's the whole situation too. I do want to acknowledge that, because even if it's like we do try to do something big, there's this whole issue of, okay, are we the first apron team or are we the second apron team? I'm not even going to try. I know what the cap situation is because I simply don't. But then it's like we do questionable things where it's like I'm confused whether if it's random decisions like bringing a guy like Thomas Bryant back like we did last year, which was kind of confusing because we already had Ware, Bam, and Love at that time. Prayers to Kevin Love, by the way, and all this other stuff going on. It's like, it's just so confusing, right? And then you have them mentioning that Terry Rozier was supposed to be our offseason pickup last year. Boy, did that pan out. What are we going to say going into next year when we don't make any moves? Andrew Wiggins was our offseason pickup. Is that what we finna say next? Like, I'm just so done with this team mentally because it's at a point where you don't know what...
let me... Before you get too far gone and like throw it into a tizzy where we can't really directly answer what you said.
I know, bro. I'm sorry.
Let me say this first off. All right. Yes, you direct that. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, and this is what I think it is now. And of course, this, you know, I guess hindsight is 2020, being able to look at everything from a bird's eye view. I don't think Pat. I think Pat would have paid Jimmy if he could have made a decision independently. I think that Pat was the mouthpiece for a pocketbook that he knew wasn't going to open wide enough to satisfy Jimmy. And I think that it's just like the CEO of a company who's not the owner of a company. Well, when you're the CEO, you got stake in a company and you're making $1 million a month. And, you know, if you give $1 million a month up, that's $1 million a month. So you're going to do what need to be done, even if you don't agree with it, because you're making $1 million a month. Now, not that it's the money for Pat, but Pat's a basketball man. He's a businessman, and he know that this situation or whatever wheel it is got to keep turning, whether Jimmy Butler's in a seat on that wheel or not. So while I'm at a position where I feel like Pat Riley could have been 50-50 on whether I want to pay him at this age, but I feel like Pat Riley would have been willing to do it because he know what it meant to his team and for the basketball of it all. I felt like he was severely handicapped and strapped by the people that signed the checks. Now, to that point, to the back end of what you were saying, it's like when you look at this situation as a whole, in previous, again, back to can't live on both sides of it. If you're going to tell me that Jimmy Butler was all of that, which he was, I'm not saying that he wasn't, then that's why they could go into the offseason and say, this was our addition. This was our. Yeah, they're still gonna try to make moves, but keeping that thing we just talked about, the Pat Riley tax or the Heat tax. So we're not gonna tell people that we're gonna be out here trying to spend because they already taxing us anyway. So we gotta try to play our stuff close to the vest. But we also got Jimmy Butler. So that means we don't have to go, swing for the fences. We just gotta do the right moves. Now it didn't happen, but that's the thinking. But then also, like I said, when you do try to swing for the fences, and Joe Cronin, Lord behold, tell you that a package start with Bam Adebayo, well, it's like, okay, well, then I'm taking a step back to take a step forward. It's like, am I really, you know what I'm saying? Because I harken back to this. The hindsight is 2020, but do you want to be the Bucks? Like, the only tradable contract they have is Kyle Kuzma. And who's going to take that deal right now? That's neither here nor there. That's all I'm saying. So it's like, at this point and at this juncture, you don't have a leg to stand on to go into the offseason and tell me all they need is a training camp. This is probably the best thing that could have happened post Jimmy Butler. The freaking roof caved in. You have no leg to stand on to go into this offseason and into next season without making, if it ain't major damn changes, it got to be right up next to the wall. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so you have no excuse now. So honestly, again, and just to be clarified, I'm 50-50. If they would have paid Jimmy Butler, I would have been happy. They let him go, and now I don't have to worry about whether I have to listen or debate with people about whether the last 2 years of his $150 million deal is good or not. I'm happy with that too. Either way. But now, 100% moving forward, we know what we need to do. And that's if Tyler's going to be here, if Bam's going to be here, we need to get them a one. Or whichever one we move, we know that the other one is not a one. Or we're using them to go out and get some ones. Like, it's pretty simple. And that's where I think we at. So I think that it's a lot of frustration. And I think we've had a lot of discoveries. And I think that we have to stop equating the Jimmy Butler situation to how the Miami Heat do business, in that we all know that's what they do, but we can't blame their failure or success moving forward on the failure or the success or how they handled the Jimmy Butler move. We can agree, disagree, wish the best for him, hate what the man do, want him to win a ring, want him to never see do good in his life. That's independent, though, of what the Miami Heat do from here on out. And I just think we all need to take that mindset, because it just sickens me that, you know what I mean? It's like you can't have it both ways, and that's all. I'm going to stick around 5 more minutes to hear what y'all got to say, though, but I wanted to make sure I got that part out before I go. I'm here, Kev. I ain't going nowhere.
No, I know. I got to say that when you say the realization of what this series presented us, and I'm 1000% with you. I'm so glad. I'm not glad that it happened like this, but I'm glad that because it happened like this, you cannot cover up the truth anymore, right? Not saying that they technically were, but everything got revealed in this series alone, right? But my thing is, it should have never took us this for us to realize this. You know what I'm saying? To me, we've been knowing this, bro. We've been believing, or people have been wanting Tyler Herro to have a season like this. And kudos to Tyler. He had a great season. But let's be honest, the past few years, it wasn't about regular season Tyler. It is what can Tyler contribute to this team in the postseason when it matters the most, right? Same thing with Bam. We've been wishing on Bam to finally put it together offensively, but he just can't. And again, that's not saying that it's never going to happen, but it's more so just saying he needs to really get in that lab, and I know he will, and experiment and figure out what is my offensive identity, because right now it's just not there. And so for me, in regards to the original question, I'm honestly so past that in the sense that Pat has the right to say what he has to say, and Jimmy had the right to respond the way that he responded. That's on him. And in regards to the front office, that's what I started off with. I mean, they just have to be better, bro. And I talked to this about K months ago, where that culture word is a very intriguing word in the sense that eventually your culture has to evolve, and you have to make adjustments, and you have to identify the current landscape of the NBA. The current landscape of the NBA is completely different than what it was just 5 years ago when we first acquired Jimmy Butler, 6 years ago, whatever the case may be, right? The NBA is always constantly changing. This new CBA is completely different. It's a lot of things that go into this. And so for the Heat, it's about adjusting and adapting. And to their credit, I think they've done a great job of doing that for the most part. But where we're at right now, majority of these stars are being raised up upon a different generation. And so you have to not necessarily cater to that, even though that's probably the word to use, but you have to at least be able to identify with that and relate to these dudes. You know what I'm saying? And so for them, I'm not one of them dudes that's like, oh, fire Spo, fire Riles, get all these dudes out of here. I'm like, bro, y'all made y'all mess. Now it's time to clean it up. That's how I feel personally. And so I think they will. I have faith in them to do that. But again, it's just frustrating because me personally, I'm just speaking for me. I know a lot of people can't say this. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I don't care about bragging and things like that. But Bam and Tyler were never going to be the dudes that 95% of Heat fans wanted them to be. They just weren't. It was obvious and evident and clear as day, bro. We went to the finals without Tyler. I cannot emphasize that enough. We went without him. He was not a factor whatsoever. He went out in what was that, the first game he broke his wrist or whatever the case was in Milwaukee? So that's what I'm saying. And then again, Bam was a key call. So I never want to downplay Bam because we don't get there without Bam. Bam did a lot. But at the same time, man, it's just we got to be better. And when you have a one, everything else kind of figures itself out, right? But when you don't, and now you're actually looking in the mirror and you're facing the reality, now it's like, damn, because you're seeing the Pistons got Cade Cunningham. They stayed the course. They're making it work. The Knicks, they got Jalen Brunson in free agency. Now they're putting it all together. The Cavs got Donovan Mitchell. They look like a serious contender. And I'm not one of those dudes that always worries about what other teams are doing, but it's just more so that it's time to just really acquire talent and, more importantly, develop talent. And it's not about continuously getting these dudes that are drafted in the second round or not drafted whatsoever, trying to maximize their value, and then they get to a certain point and they can't go any further. I love Haywood Highsmith. Haywood Highsmith is very good, but Haywood Highsmith doesn't really give you anything offensively outside of three-point shots. And if he's not hitting threes, yeah, you can play him, but defensively doesn't give you anything. Duncan Robinson, I hate to say it, but Duncan's probably maxed out. Jaime Jaquez, we thought was going to be the future of our organization. He had a rough year this year, and I'm giving him some leniency just because that sophomore slump is a real thing. But the fact that you were out of the rotation completely after we just lost a great player at your same position and you're not playing at all is a red flag. You know what I'm saying? Joe, you mentioned Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier, how long did it take Spo to actually take Terry out of the rotation? You know what I'm saying? So, and Terry's not a young guy, of course. He's a vet, but it's just all in all, bro, we have to get dudes that we know just have talent. Even with Khalil, I'm giving Khalil the benefit of the doubt just because he hasn't played basketball for that long. But he had his ups and downs. So, again, he's a rookie. That's going to happen. But, I mean, next year he got to be a little bit better. I'm not saying he got to turn to an all-star, but he just has to show real signs of growth in life. And so that's my thing, man. It's stop trying to prove that you can develop and find hidden gems here and there. Just go get talent. Just go get talent. That's all it comes down to. The game is about talent. Yes, you need chemistry. You need defense. You got to rebound. It's a team game. That's why I love it. But talent wins out more than anything. And so that's why I round out.
Okay, you got anything to say? I know you got to head out soon, so.
I mean, I don't disagree with Kev. And this isn't shitting on the quality of what he said, so don't take it that way. I don't think he said nothing profound. I think he was just telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, you go get talent. The Miami Heat, they have to go get talent the way they have to go get talent, though. And it's real weird, man. It's funny. And it's almost like, I mean, back to the spoil point, and it's not that overall point, but as you break it down, why is that a thing? Because the Miami Heat have had a sustained level of excellence. So even if they do have a one down year, I know Kev like the road they hit before Jimmy Butler got a 10 seed, 1 or 2 years. Right. It's not 5 years like it's not, they have sustained excellence. So when you see them, they have evolved. Like said, to Kev's point, they drafted D Wade, number 5. You don't get like 5, right? Am I tripping? 5, 6?
5, yeah.
Somebody help me out. Y'all blinking in and out. Okay, yeah, 5. Like I thought. You don't usually get generational. You don't get second, third greatest 2 guard ever at 5. You don't do that. So, okay, they drafted him. Okay, then they brought Shaq in. That's how they won. Okay, then they continually to evolve. Okay, now everybody's got big combos. Okay, well, we're going to take it next step. We ain't gonna do the dynamic duo. We're gonna do 3 of them. Okay, now everybody start doing that 3 stuff, and then it's like, okay, well, Steph Curry them just showed you what's the next thing after big trios, pace and space. Okay, we're gonna go get a true one, and we're gonna surround them with a bunch of versatile dudes that can shoot and be multiple. And now they just got to figure out what that next iteration of evolving is. And honestly, I'm gonna say this as I exit, it's working out perfectly because the next iteration of NBA basketball is about versatile size. And we've been talking about this for 2 years. And I've been mentioning it for 2 years. The next iteration of NBA basketball is to try to have as many 6'9" to 7 foot dudes as you can on the court, but they have to be able to shoot or do something on the perimeter. You look at what Houston's trying to do. You look at what Indiana tries to throw out there. You look at what the Miami Heat have tried to do. You look at OKC. You look at a lot of these teams that are going back to big skill guys. If New York had their brothers, they could play Cat at the 4, but they just don't have another Cat they can trust at the 5 to play beside him. So, I mean, that's the next iteration. And I feel like when you're looking at the certain guys that are out there, I don't know the score, but as we currently speak, Indiana and Milwaukee probably playing, you're looking at a guy like Giannis.
47-41.
Milwaukee
win halftime. Yep.
Yeah, there's no way they win this series without Dame. So I don't care what the score is. With that being said, it's like, that's not saying the Miami Heat going to land it, but he's going to be out there. Because when Jimmy left, it was, who's going to be out there? Who can we get? Well, it's going to be a couple guys out there. So, I mean, look, man, I expect the Heat to continue to do what they do. You know what I mean? Like they have always done. They're gonna pivot and they're gonna figure it out. It's ugly right now. We hate it. It's a lot of cats out here that are sipping Jimmy Butler tears because they were on his team and upset that it happened the way it did, and I am too, because it's my favorite team. It has nothing to do with the player. It's my favorite team, so of course I'm upset. But we gotta move past that, and that's where I'm at. We gotta move past that. And start putting all our energy to cussing out the Miami Heat if they don't do what they need to do to improve this team.
Right. And I'll say
let's stop cussing each other out over Jimmy or what side you was on and cuss them out.
Right. And I mean, that's a good way to sum it up because I see people getting into fights in the group chats and stuff, spaces, and it's like, bro, at the end of the day, there's a common enemy in all of this, and it's the Miami Heat, bro. Until they get their acts together.
They're twos! They're twos! We know they're twos! I'm out, y'all. It's love.
Take care, K. But listen, bro, you see the people talking about Bam this though, but Tyler this though. It's like, I need the arguments to stop because at the end of the day, we just rooting for a team right now that's just not going anywhere. And I've been banging my head on a freaking wall like all this time, hoping the squad would do something. And you know what? That's how the Jimmy era ends. We didn't get to really see a significant move that helped Jimmy get his ring. And it is what it is. There's no way we can ever undo some of the stuff that we saw go down in that era. But as Kay mentioned before hopping off, like what we can do is hope that now this team can learn from this and make up for it. And I don't know, I just want some accountability on the front office. Like, I don't know how y'all feel about that, but for me personally, it's like I want Pat, Mickey, all these guys to look at what happened this past season, because the one word that I feel like is constantly getting thrown around a lot is heat culture. Heat culture this, heat culture that, heat culture all of these things. The thing is, I feel like heat culture has consumed the Heat so much that we just feel like, we could just fall off of a building, a 10-story building, and heat culture is just going to swoop in and save us. We're not going to fall to our death. Heat culture will just magically take us out of nowhere and just land us to the ground safely. That's not what it is. It used to mean something, right? And we used to love bragging about heat culture to all these fools on NBA Twitter or whatever, saying, oh, they always talking about heat culture this, heat culture that. It used to mean something, bro. But now it doesn't, because it seemed like all we do is just talk about that nonstop instead of actually showing what it truly was meant for. You had a guy like Jimmy who said he wanted to come to Miami because he felt that it fit him to a T, right? And now all of a sudden he leave Miami and you hear him talking about, yeah, heat culture, cool, but like, they over there taking it too seriously. And I don't even disagree with him when he says that stuff. It's gotten to a point where even Dwayne Wade pulled up. I think it was an interview he was doing with Candace Parker. He talking about what was it? Candace Parker said that Miami Heat are guaranteed to do what? And y'all know what that dude answered with? Dwayne Wade said to Candace Parker, I don't know, they guaranteed to talk about Heat culture. He could have said anything else. The brother could have said anything. He could have said, oh, well, they'll probably win this many games to do this or that. Now, the brother said they're going to talk about Heat culture because that's what they finna do. They're not going to talk about nothing else aside from that. It's all that on this team minded. I'm just so exhausted of it, bro. We get it. Y'all about that life, and I respect it. That's why we all embrace this Heat culture stuff. But we want to see it show up for the banners, bro. We're not here just trying to take these moral victories. Oh, you know what? These few years we lost to a team that either made it to the finals or win the championship. That's cool, but when do we raise the banner? Like I want that moment. It's like what folks say, they're always the bridesmaid, but not the actual bride themselves. That's where we stand, bro. Because we out here beating these teams left and right in the playoffs. Yeah, we still don't get the job done, but yet the teams we end up beating end up winning a championship the year or two later. We beat Milwaukee multiple times, and guess what? They ended up winning a most recent championship before us winning in 2021. And then you got Boston. We beat them twice, right? And yet they still ended up getting an 18th banner before we were ever able to get Jimmy a ring. All of these things play into it, and it's just so frustrating, so irritating. And I'm just going to put it all on the Heat. I'm not even going to think about the Heat this summer because my expectations are extremely low for this squad. But do something, bro. Do something. I don't know what that something is, but just do something at this point because I don't know what that something is because y'all have given me nothing to work with right now. We ain't done nothing. And y'all talking about we got Terry Rozier as our acquisition, bro. That still irks me. That still irked me. I watched that brother go out and miss layups and stuff. And I'm still thinking that quote's still ringing in my ear talking about, oh, we got Terry Rozier. Y'all, like, we about to cook, once we got that whole training camp stuff. And that's why you hear people talk about, oh, well, you know what? The Heat probably think we could just get a whole training camp under these guys and then, they'll run into the season with that. I don't blame them for thinking that because they probably think that themselves. That's why I'm glad we lost by 55. It shouldn't have taken that route, like you guys mentioned, for the Heat to realize something. But even then, I'm not sure about this squad because every time it seems like we're reaching a point where the Heat are going to learn something and be like, okay, you know what? Maybe this isn't the way how we should go about things. They still find a way to fumble it. They still find a way to screw it up. And I'm so irritated and I'm so annoyed by it because chance after chance after chance, we still go through the same thing. And the only thing I can say now is the Jimmy window that's closed. It's over with. Just don't do nothing stupid now. Okay, I don't want to hear the same stuff over and over again. I want y'all to have accountability on y'all side and just do something right for the squad. Let's do something right and try to go somewhere smart with this team. Okay, let's not be throwing out, whatever, just to make this team allegedly better, only for it to have us take a couple steps back. Whether if it was the Terry Rozier trade, which I'm not gonna lie, I was happy about when it happened. But it was clearly, when you look back at it, a move the Heat made just for the sake of making a move. And then all that other stuff that followed along with it. Like, I'm mentally done with it, bro. And I don't want to keep on rambling about the same stuff. But, I feel like we've talked about this for so long, bro. I don't want to keep you on the mic for too long. Alex, I'm gonna get into this final topic. If y'all got any other points y'all want to put in there, feel free to do so. What do you see for the Miami Heat offseason? And like you think we actually doing something, or it's just gonna be another whiffed offseason for us?
Honestly, with how the CBA is worked out, and so I looked it up while Kev and K was going back and forth. So this past year, the Heat were there's 30 teams in the NBA for those who don't know. The Heat are the 10th most expensive roster in the league. So with us being the 10th most expensive roster and basically being okay, if we give or take the fact that everything that happened with Jimmy and all that, like we're basically around a 500 team, and we're the 10th most expensive team. That is a huge issue. And with that being an issue, I think that obviously we want big changes, and obviously my name says big changes, but I think they're going to end up taking a long form view of it. And if if whatever happens this summer, like if they're looking at a move, but that move doesn't set them up to have a cleaner cap sheet in regard to the new CBA, then they're not going to do it. So with that being said, like, yeah, I want big changes. Yeah, I want them to make a splash. And I mean, there might be opportunities to make a splash with everybody who should possibly be available. But I honestly do think we somewhat need to prepare ourselves for it to look very, very similar to how it looks this year, next year.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge possibility that it could look very similar. And just like Joel is saying, he don't want to hear all that. We need a training camp, and we gonna figure it out. They're gonna be pulling out the same stuff. They're gonna be saying the same stuff, but that's what they have to say out loud. And in the rooms that we're not privy to, that we don't really get to hear what they really talking about, they gonna be setting up different moves. But it's like, yo, we gonna have to eat this year for us to really set those moves up. So yes, I hope we have some drastic changes. Do I expect it? No. I expect it to look very similar again.
Kev, can you give us some hope?
Yeah, I mean, I think, what Alex said is probably, I mean, I'm not even going to say probably. I think that's the proper approach, just because, again, it takes time to get to contending, right? You have to acquire guys, develop guys, trade for guys, and you got to make sure everything is working in order. So are we far from contention? Somewhat, right? But me personally, I'm not necessarily out there looking for the major swing. If it's there, take it, right? If Giannis pops open, if some other stars get right and want to leave their certain situation, you definitely have to take a look. I'm very big on the Giannis train right now, right? I mean, we're seeing the Bucks. Their season probably ends tonight in Indiana, but if that's there, then I think you have to entertain it, right, and give up whoever. But on the other hand, me personally, I just want to start to see them actually form a team that's just competitive, right? And that doesn't mean that they have to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. It's more so just about being a solid team, because, again, in order to get to that, you got to have the infrastructure and the foundation to build off of. That's why I'm very opposed to getting KD right now, because KD's 36. And the Heat fan of me would love KD to be here. But the basketball fan of me says, bro, KD needs to go somewhere where he can compete for the rest of his career at a high level. KD should not be at the crib right now watching on the couch like the rest of us are, right? He needs to be somewhere where he could potentially get to the Western or Eastern Conference Finals. So as far as it concerns to us, look, man, if Bam and Tyler are going to be here, they're going to be here. I'm not opposed to it, but that means you got to get somebody else, right? Because we've seen, how this team is. But also, too, again, when you look back at some of these role players, I mean, Nico's been here for what, 4 years, if I'm not mistaken now? 3-4 years? He's been here for a few now.
4 years. Yep.
Yeah, Nico, you got to get better. And Nico, I'll give him some credit coming off the injury. He's shown some flashes. But this time next year, if we're not looking at you as damn near a quality starter type player, then it's like, what are we doing here, right? Because that's what he should be at this point. And that's also my biggest thing, is we have to stop with the excuses for these dudes, right? We're talking about the Miami Heat. We're a quote-unquote blue-collar organization. The standard is just different. The standards for us is the 1% of the NBA with the Lakers, the Celtics, and you could probably throw the Spurs in there if you want to, right? It's just different. And so for us, again, I'm not expecting any major changes. Are they out of the realm of possibility? Not at all. Not at all. I definitely think somebody will pop open and will become available, and I'm firm that Giannis might be that dude, right? But at the same time, again, I just want to see competitive basketball. And they're going to have a fresh slate going into this offseason. They're going to have a fresh slate going into next year. And that's where it all starts. And most importantly, where I'll finish off at, again, I've never been one of those dudes to be like, fire Spo, get Spo out of here. But Spo has to, and I know he will because I'm not too worried about him. Spo got to really get away, look in that mirror, and evolve his philosophy, right? And I'm not saying he's stuck or anything. I think Spo was solid. I think he had a bad year based on, the rotations were weird, but more so the team is not good, bro. Like, people acting like Spo's overrated, bro. Great coaches need great players. Point blank, period. There's no great coach that's never had a great player to stamp their greatness. So that's literally half the battle. I'm not going to sit here and ask Spo to just be a magician. This team just wasn't that good. So, but you got embarrassed, as he mentioned yesterday. You got humiliated on your home floor, which is just unacceptable. So I need Spo to really, alongside his coaching staff, to really lock in and get back right. And so we'll be fine. I'm not tripping. Even if we're down for a few years, I guarantee you we'll be right back in the thick of things, like Kay mentioned. I'm not too worried about that. But for Pat Riley, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, you're 80 years old. I don't want you to step down, but I think at the same time, your window is closing and you only got a little bit of time left. And I think if I'm him, I know I'm trying to maximize this. That's why the Jimmy thing was concerning with me, because you only have a small window left. And it's in general, no matter how old you are, all these windows in the NBA are small, right? Think about, we always, I know this is an anomaly, but we thought Luka was going to be a Dallas Maverick for his entire career. He's a Laker right now. Some people still can't process that. I still can't process that. So you got to maximize the short windows that you have. So all in all, man, I'm going to say this. Do not trip. We are going to be fine. Yes, this season was tumultuous. It was rocky. It was hell. But that's the beauty of it, is that, as Kay mentioned, we never stayed down for too long. They are going to figure this out. It might be some changes. It might be some uncomfortable conversations. It might be some dudes get traded that we never expected to get traded. But after what happened, this past week and a half, anything should be on the table. And we'll be all right, man. The Miami Heat are going to figure this out. They're going to get their next whale, and we'll be right back in the thick of things sooner rather than later.
I hope you're right, Kev, because all my hope is gone, man. But right now, bro, we just got to take it easy. Let them do what they got to do, I guess. And meanwhile, I got 6 months now without any Heat hoops. So this is going to be meditation time for me. Just go inside that little chamber, just completely forget about this season, and hopefully we'll go and get into a better product to talk about next season. And before we wrap things up, is there anything else y'all want to say, or can we call this an episode?
We're gonna be all right, man. Like, on everything that I love, we are going to be fine, bro. Like, I'm not stressing whatsoever. We were all angry because of everything that took place this season, but that's a part of fandom. But just know that they are going to figure this out. We all sat there and watched that as a team, as a fan base, get embarrassed. But sometimes you need that to happen, right? Sometimes the truth just has to be revealed. And we was holding on to some false realities for way too long, bro. And so now that it's all there, the only way to go, honestly, is up. So that's where I'll end.
And let's see, Alex, any final words?
No, not for real. Okay, covered a whole lot of it. I mean, when the end comes, it honestly, sometimes it has to be despicable. It has to be ugly, so that there can't be a thought in the back of anybody's head where, well, if this happened, well, if that happened, maybe it would have switched around. Like what? Like last year, the thought was, well, if Jimmy won't hurt, maybe we could have went on a run again. No, we didn't have enough. So now, and I mean, I remember I said this at the time, whenever, I think before and once Jimmy got traded. I knew that the move that we made to trade Jimmy was going to end up setting us back. But with it setting us back, then the move after, so now whatever move we make should be able to jolt us back forward onto the right track. And like I said, man, I don't know if it's gonna happen this off season. I don't know if everything this offseason gonna look real similar and it's gonna happen the year after. But like Kev saying, we're gonna be all right.
Amen. So, because of that, I think that's a good way to just wrap it up. Overall, y'all, thank y'all so much for tuning in to today's episode of Heat vs. the World, the final one for the season, man. Thank y'all so much for the support. Hopefully, when the product is better, we'll have a lot more episodes for y'all to drop next season. I was not expecting this to be the first episode of VOLA 2025, but here we are. And much love to these guys. Kev, let's see, is it still Kevo Mufasa 7 or is it changed?
Is at Kev Luke the Great, KEVLUKETHAGREAT.
Thank you, Kev. Make sure to follow Alex at _Coach Lewis 1 and our guy K at K_said_K and Heat vs. the World at HVTW Podcast. We love y'all. Thank you so much for the support. And listen, man, just pray for this team, bro. We need it, bro. But aside from that, take care, y'all. Have a good one and enjoy the playoffs. Let's go, Heat.
behind my back.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time with a brand new episode of the Heat vs. the World Podcast.